Unlimited talk, $75. Talk unlimited to over 50 destinations. Unlimited talk to all local landlines. Landline to mobile, 45 cents. Sign up now.
Flow, watch, talk, click.
This is CC6 News Night Weekend Review for September 24th to 27th, 2012. It was the week in which government sold 10% of its shares in a local company to pay September salaries of public servants. Grenada's export market to the U.S. may be at risk following implementation of new regulations by American authorities. Motor vessel Sabina A cleared for sailing following fatal accident at St. George's Cargo Port a month ago. And in sports, intersector netball tournament to shoot off next month. We'll bring you details when we return.
Southern Waste Limited offers professional septic tank clearance at unbeatable prices. At Southern Waste Limited, you dump it, we pump it, and we also disinfect it. Located in River Road, St. George's next to Steve's Auto, Southern Waste Limited for professional septic tank clearance. Also available, portable toilets, garbage collection and garbage bins. Call us today, 435-DIRT. That is 435-3478. Southern Waste Limited. You dump it, we pump it.
Unlimited talk, $75. Talk unlimited to over 50 destinations. Unlimited talk to all local landlines. Landline to mobile, 45 cents. Sign up now.
Flow, watch, talk, click.
At Scotiabank, we offer a number of borrowing solutions to make home ownership work for you. It all starts with a conversation. For the right mortgage advice, come in and talk to us. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
Thanks for joining us. I am Samantha Williams. Some public servants are said to be apprehensive about receiving their September salaries in a timely manner, but sources close to CC6 News Night has learned that government has put measures in place to ensure they fulfill that financial obligation.
CC6 Newsnight has learned that government sold its 10% shares in the lone electricity provider on the island in an effort to ensure the payment of September salaries to public servants. Minister of Finance Honorable Nazim Burke was a guest on CC6's award-winning current affairs program, You Decide, on Wednesday night, along with Minister of Youth Empowerment and Sports Honorable Patrick Simmons, who participated in a special hour-and-a-half edition of the program. Speaking with host Byron Campbell, Minister Burke revealed sources of financing the huge fiscal gap in the $1.02 billion budget which was presented in March, and hinted of the sale of government shares.
The first was that we anticipated that through the adjustment that we had made between in the Chinese housing program, we can realize as much as $40 million US. The second potential source that we saw was the Citizenship by Investment program. We had spent 6 months from September until March, more or less, or 5 months on working on it, designing a program which took into account the experience, the structure, the design of many other countries, including St. Kitts Nevis, the country which has had perhaps the longest running program of its sort, of this kind, since 1984. And we then decided to build into their program, improve on their program, and build into our program a number of safeguards which we felt will protect the integrity of our passport, the integrity of our citizenship, and ensure that we can generate some monies. They were making hundreds of thousands of dollars from this. We had identified some shares which we felt that government held, which we felt we can divest, which would bring us as well somewhere between 17 and 20 million US dollars. So we were not simply pulling numbers out of the sky. Yeah. We felt it was possible. Things have not turned out the way that we anticipated, but we have continued nonetheless. We have been challenged.
Minister Burke also addressed government's payment of August salaries to public workers, which was issued almost a week late, and says talk circulating about how the money was acquired are simply rumors.
You're bounded by the Constitution, not just you, but the government, the Parliament, Chapter 5 on Finance, Section 3, to obtain parliamentary approval for borrowing of money. The Treasury was short on funds to pay salaries. You needed to borrow money, meaning the government needed to borrow money. Is raising funds from the NIS via the purchasing of government bonds not the same as borrowing, and therefore needing parliamentary approval?
Raising funds by the issuance of bonds will amount to borrowing, yes.
And therefore requiring parliamentary approval?
Yes.
But my information is that Parliament did not approve this matter.
Which matter?
The matter where funds were borrowed. Well, I'm to understand this. Funds were borrowed for the payment of salaries.
That's the problem. I think your understanding is not factually safe, you see.
Well, correct me, please.
Yeah, in other words, we are not, the government is not raising any bonds. If we raise bonds, we'll have to go to the Parliament. That is correct. But we have not been raising
So the government
bonds.
did not borrow monies from the NIS?
No, I'm not.
Or raise bonds purchased by the NIS for the financing of government expenditures?
No, the government has not raised any bonds or floated any bonds without parliamentary approval. That has not been done at all. And you see, it is unfair to ask me to simply respond to rumors.
He says the ability to finance a number of projects and plans of the government has been a challenge, but government was not unrealistic in its projections.
The government finances its operations in the normal course by treasury bills, by bonds, by other operations, by borrowing, and we try to stay within the limits of our responsibility. That is so. We don't go about just issuing bonds without permission. We can't do that.
According to sources close to the situation, the sale of 10% government shares is expected to raise almost $20 million.
The more critical question, Minister, is the question of salaries. And today is the 26th of September, end of the month is Friday. Could you tell us exactly whether public servants and pensioners will be paid on time?
That is my expectation, yes.
That is your expectations.
Yes. Blossom Alexis Welsh, CC6 Newsnight.
Local exporters who ship products to the U.S. are being urged to immediately ensure that their goods are up to international standards, as new regulations put in place by the American authorities could jeopardize Grenada's export market.
A call is being made to local exporters who ship products to the United States of America to pay particular attention to meeting all international regulations before it is too late. Jamaican consultant Dr. Andrew Gordon is on the island partnering with the Grenada Bureau of Standards and the Grenada Cooperative Nutmeg Association to help sensitize the public on recent developments in U.S. regulations as it relates to the exporting of products.
We bring together the entire supporting chain, the value chain starting from the farmers all the way through to the export market to ensure that all of the persons involved understand what is required. Part of the project is also looking at how we raise awareness in Grenada about the importance of nutmeg and also the importance of all the persons that support the industry, people like the Bureau of Standards, the work that's being done by the Ministry of Agriculture Spice Research Project for identifying specific varieties to make sure that the replanting program can continue. And the role that the farmers play, that the GCNA plays in making sure that Grenada exports high-quality nutmegs and nutmeg products that meet the requirements in the market that they're going into.
Dr. Gordon says all stakeholders should take the necessary precautions in meeting proper international export requirements before they are left behind.
The Bureau of Standards has for some time trying to get people, all of the players, to understand the importance of quality and food safety in the production of nutmeg and nutmeg products. These nutmeg products would include like personal care products, teas, some of the jams and jellies that small producers and others, larger producers make, and derivative products like oils, products like nutmeg that is made by Noelville and so on. All of the products. All of these products, once they are targeted at the European market or the US market, they have to meet certain requirements. Now, particularly for those products going into the United States, there was a change in their regulations January 2011 that now gives the U.S. Food and Drug Administration the authority over all food products coming into the country.
He further explained what that means for local companies who export to the U.S.
As long as you produce anything in Grenada that is going to go into the U.S., the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has the right to come into Grenada and inspect your production facility or demand your information to ensure that you're meeting their requirements. So, for example, Grenada Fisheries, where a lot of fish products are exported from Grenada to the U.S., is open to inspection. All of the nutmeg producers, the receiving stations of the GCNA, the processing station, would also be open to inspection. The companies that produce any product that goes into the U.S. would also be open to inspection or having to meet these requirements. The act is called the Food Safety Modernization Act.
All pre-existing regulations as well as basic good manufacturing practices should also be met by local exporters.
They come in, they do an inspection. If they find areas where you don't comply, they will give you what is called their corrective action form, and you are required to respond to them within 2 weeks, indicating how you're going to correct those actions. If they don't find that satisfactory, then you are prohibited from exporting until you meet their requirements. And that means that business that has been ongoing for many years can be interrupted literally in a heartbeat, either if they come to inspect or they stop the goods at the port of entry, send them back to you at your own cost because you don't comply, and then ask you to provide evidence that you comply. And this has happened not just in Jamaica, it has happened to goods coming out of Trinidad and out of Barbados for sure.
The new laws by the U.S. have already been introduced to countries such as Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and Jamaica, who export on a large scale. Janelle Andrews, CC6 Newsnight.
The motor vessel Sabina A, the ship on which an employee of the Ports Authority suffered a fatal accident at the St. George's Port a month ago, has been cleared for sailing by local officials who still await 2 reports from the major parties involved in the matter.
The Sabina A motor vessel, which has been detained in Grenada for just over a month following a fatal accident on board the vessel on August 21st involving an employee of the Grenada Ports Authority, was given the green light to sail from the port of St. George by the Grenada Maritime Administration on Wednesday. According to a release from the GPA on Tuesday evening, the vessel was prohibited from leaving the port by the Director of Maritime Affairs, Mr. Ambrose Phillip, until he was satisfied that adequate security was in place to ensure the availability of funds to pay compensation to the estate of the deceased dock worker David Wayne Roberts, as prescribed in Grenada Shipping Act, Chapter 303 of the 2010 edition of the Laws of Grenada. Local maritime lawyer Ali Gill is representing the owners of the vessel, and he spoke exclusively with CC6 Newsnight on Wednesday about the latest development in the matter.
We were able to effect an agreement on Monday last to enable the Port Authority, Grenada Port Authority, to lift the detention order that was on the vessel Sabina A. Obviously, there are still outstanding matters that have to be addressed with regards to the damages or compensation to the estate of the deceased, but we were able to reach an agreement so that the vessel can, set sail out of the port of St. George.
Gill says, however, while the vessel was given the clearance to leave the port, what is crucial in settling the matter are the 2 reports from both parties, the owners of the Sabina A motor vessel registered in St. Vincent and the Grenada Ports Authority, which is still outstanding. He says once the reports remain outstanding, it will further delay the settlement to the estate of the deceased.
That is one of the things that we hope will be completed as soon as possible so that it can expedite the process. They are very, very important reports, and without them, the matter will be delayed a bit. But notwithstanding that, we were still able to effect a compromise to have the vessel released yesterday.
CC6 Newsnight was not able to get a confirmation from port officials as to whether or not the balance of cement that was left on board the Sabina A after the fatal incident occurred was offloaded on the port before the vessel departed. Sherry Ann Noel, CC6 Newsnight.
When we return, Randall Robinson elected NDC caretaker for St. George Southeast.
Only one dishwashing liquid can do the job. Quicks is the expert in taking out the toughest grease easily. You know you can trust it. Quicks cuts grease better, full stop.
GTM wishes to advise its customers of its new toll-free office and fax numbers for our local offices. You can contact us at 800-4GTM. That is 800-4486. Alternatively, we can be contacted on telephone numbers 232-2351, 232-6456 or 232-0920.
GTM, solid, reliable.
Superior one-on-one customer service. Phenomenal products customized to your individual style and need. Fast and efficient service are all attributes that have made St. Louis the leading manufacturers of windows and doors for over 30 years in St. Lucia. And we are now pleased to extend our services to you. Try our new single-hung windows, which can be tilted for easy cleaning. Our famous casement windows, which locks with keys for added security. Our gliders, projected aluminum and heavy sliding windows, sliding and commercial doors, commercial shop fronts, and more. Visit us today, building number 19 Frequente Industrial Park, St. George's, or call us at 439-6538.
Hey, I was just thinking about you,
What do you look like?
Well, Bill, so what do you look like?
I'm a bit of a looker.
I'm a decent cook.
And I'm really tidy.
So what are you
wearing?
Too shy to talk? Well, with Digicel's Free After 5, life will never be the same again. Digicel makes communicating much easier and affordable. Plus, you get to talk much longer and for free. Talk for 5 minutes on any local Digicel call and get the rest of the hour absolutely free. That's 55 free minutes. So go ahead, make that call and keep talking. Free After 5, shaking things up since 2010. Digicel, the bigger, better network.
Welcome back. Randall Robinson is one step closer in his hope to represent the people of St. George Southeast constituency in the next general election and may be the likely candidate to replace Honorable Carl Hood on the NDC ticket.
Randall Robinson has been elected NDC caretaker for St. George Southeast by members of the constituency at a meeting held on Monday night. A record 127 people turned out to vote for a new caretaker after parliamentary representative and former Minister of Government Honorable Carl Hood said he will not be seeking re-election as the constituency MP on an NDC ticket. Mr. Robinson defeated his opponent Elliot Bishop by 62 votes, 93 to 31, of the 124 registered NDC members in the constituency that participated in the process. Mr. Robinson spoke with CC6 Newsnight in an interview on Tuesday.
We were able to engage a lot of people on the ground. I had been in the communities, I had been walking around for quite a bit. I know that Elliot would have come on strong a little later. But we had been there and were doing the work on the ground and so on. So I think for the most part, people would have seen me around for quite a while. So that is probably what I had on him, But to take nothing of the fact that, and the thing is that Elliot was able to keep his community and his village group intact while for the last 4 years or so, whereas the other groups had not been functioning under the last executive. So he had that. I was able to get the other groups functioning, getting on the ground, find out. So we went out into the communities and people got to know me. I introduced myself. I did some bios and so on that I passed around. So I guess all of that, when you put all of these factors together and so on. And then, of course, we had to make a presentation to the people gathered last night and so on. And I think that too may have just brought it over the top.
He says, however, he will be working with Mr. Bishop in the implementation of plans for development in the constituency, and their first order of business is to decrease the rate of unemployment, especially among young people and women.
We can't depend on the government to be able to give you everything. At this point in time, they can't afford it, right? Things are rough. So we have to find ways to help people to come out of that. So fishing rods, teaching people how to fish. That is what we need to do, and that is where I'm going to start. So I have an idea already to how to empower the village groups, the kinds of things that we need to do. And the only way that you could keep them busy, as soon as people don't have things to do, they just fall back into their. So we have to get them energized, and we have to give them things to do. So that is my first order of priority. And I think once we have that going, and we could sell that to the community, and they could start to see that we could do something here and earn a little living for ourselves and so on.
The caretaker election comes less than a week before the ruling NDC holds its most important and deciding activity leading up to the next general election, the party convention, which is scheduled for Sunday in St. Andrew. Mr. Robinson is hopeful that he will be selected as the NDC candidate for St. George Southeast thereafter.
I have been elected by my constituency, but that election is like a recommendation now to the national executive. So, in other words, when you ask Southeast, St. George Southeast, who would you like to represent you? Let's say, well, we chose Randall Robinson, we recommend him. And then they will do that screening, and they will determine whether I am palatable to the national community. Okay. Once that is determined, I might get a go-ahead.
Okay. So you're ready to make a case for yourself?
Always ready to make a case for myself.
He says there was a real sense of community at the meeting, and he will be working with a team of spirited people that have pledged to ensure an NDC win in the constituency and nationally. Blossom Alexis Welsh, CC6 Newsnight.
4 projects have been identified under the Universal Service Fund of the NTRC, and a budget of $3.2 million has been set aside for their implementation over the next few weeks.
The National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC, has recently approved 4 projects to receive financial support from the Universal Service Fund. The projects are in line with the priority goal identified by the Commission to expand access to telecommunications services in remote and rural communities and to make the services accessible to members of the community by utilizing the available Universal Service funds. Administrator of the USF, Krista Burke-Medford, says the projects were selected from suggestions made by NTRC members.
Each project selected by the NTRC is based on the ability to further expand the infrastructure, to provide services not readily available to the public, to improve on the quality of existing services, and also to provide services which may not be financially viable for telecom providers to execute independently. It is in this sense that the NTRC has identified 4 projects which will be tendered within the upcoming months.
The projects are Women and Girls in ICT, construction of a telecommunications cell tower in St. Patrick, and internet services via Wi-Fi at strategic locations and emergency public access phones. The 4th is telecommunication services and access devices for people with disabilities, which Mrs. Medford says the organization is proud of because of the potential impact.
As stated by a member of the council and someone with a disability, and I quote, "This project would give persons with disability the opportunity that is available and afforded to other citizens," end of quote. The project would allow persons with disability to be able to improve their skills in a technical field, thus providing them with a wider range of skills and ability for employment, thereby improving their livelihood. All equipment under this project will be equipped with assistive devices, which would allow the members to effectively use the devices.
She says the bidding process for the selection of telecommunication providers to execute the Telecoms Infrastructure Services project will commence within the coming months, using procurement procedures in accordance with the USF guidelines.
All of the above projects will be tendered within the upcoming months, and eligible bidders will be given the opportunity to bid on the projects to be executed. These projects are a continuation from ongoing Universal Service Fund project. This year, that was February of this year, we awarded a contract to Cable and Wireless Grenada Limited, trading as Lime, to provide broadband internet service to Monlong and Davie. and this project is ongoing. In addition, we have another project which was done with the NTRC as well as ECTEL, and this was a pilot project initiative, and this was awarded to Columbus. And we have, through that project, 10 areas were identified for the establishment of CAPs. Some have been commissioned, and a few will be functional within the upcoming weeks.
The NTRC will award contracts to successful bidders to execute and implement the projects under its theme, propelling ICTs and bridging the digital divide.
A call is being made for more professional training for teachers of both primary and secondary schools, so that those in authority can be better able to identify and deal with children who are being abused.
Within recent years, the numbers continue to grow as it relates to children both in primary and secondary schools who are subject to abuse, whether it be sexual, physical, or verbal. During a recent exclusive interview with CC6 Newsnight, President of the Principals Association, Victor Ashby, speaks of the challenges this poses to teachers, saying it is a deep matter that is central to the outcome of meaningful education, as the impact of abuse could be harbored by the victims.
It takes the appropriate circumstance for the teacher to be able to become aware or to discover that which the child could be carrying around with him or with her over considerable time, and the teacher has to be well tuned and well disposed professionally.
Mr. Ashby says one of the major challenges is that the education system is now saturated with young teachers who in most cases lack the experience to detect signs of abuse.
The teacher might be able to tell that something isn't quite right. But that's a serious matter, it's a deep matter, and it is one that only good professional training by the regular classroom teacher can enable the teacher to identify the possibility of a problem, to engage the children, and then to win the confidence, because these are not things that you would hear readily, depending on the nature of the thing.
Teachers receive training from different sources, he says. However, the most important is what he or she learns from the principal and staff at their school they work.
The most important in all of this is the training that the teacher will get at the level of the teacher's own staff and the teacher's own school. The headmaster or the principal of each school, whether it's primary or secondary, has a written or an unwritten responsibility to go out of his way, her way, to help professionally every recruit into the teaching profession.
The GPA president says in a number of cases, signs of abuse go unnoticed because of the inexperience of the teachers.
In that context, things can happen that should not happen, that could not be avoided by the school because the teacher or the school does not know. And even if the school were to have a hint, the school has to pursue those matters with deliberate care, in that you never know the degree to which you will turn off the individual from sharing with you what has taken place, and then you might just lose the opportunity to help.
The need for more counselors and professionally trained teachers is one way of tackling the problem, Mr. Ashby says, in an effort to make it more comfortable for abused students who have to sit comfortably and learn in the classrooms. Sherry Ann Noel, CC6 Newsnight.
Coming up in sports, the national senior football team in high preparation for Digital Caribbean Cup.
Life does not have to be complicated. It's time to enjoy the small things. The Hyundai I20 offers you the chance to simplify. Available in 14 and 1600 manual and automatic transmissions. Amazing things come in small packages. And the I20 is equipped with features for your comfort and safety. Choose a color that defines you and be the I in the I20. Why complicate life when you can simplify with the Hyundai I20? Hyundai I20 offers 3 years or 60,000 miles of warranty. Visit our showroom today. Morris Bishop Highway, St. George's.
Cool me down. Nothing can hard in my country. So I open a bakery. Yes.
Hey, in order that I should marry.
When did you jump, soca?
Friendliest people you'll ever meet. Wise man with black stone beside it.
Live on Community Channel 6 every Saturday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's Sound System Saturday.
Hello, I'm Chef Didier and welcome to Meals in a Minute, brought to you by the Baron Gourmet Collection.
Today, we join Chef Didier on a culinary trip to China for a delicious sweet and sour chicken stir-fry.
We start by simply branding a chicken breast in a hot pan with a little bit of oil. Add a little more oil to the pan and stir-fry your fresh vegetables until barely tender. Then add a jar of sweet and sour sauce from the Baron Gourmet Collection with some fresh noodles and toss it until nice and hot. And now you are ready to enjoy your sweet and sour stir fry.
We hope we can inspire your next meal in minutes with the Baron Gourmet Collection. Baron, we make food tasty.
Welcome back. Officials are sending out a call to all teams to get ready for competition as they prepare to host another season of intersected netball action. A newly appointed national football coach is confident that he will have a good crop of players in time for Grenada's participation in the Caribbean Football Cup schedule for mid-November. Janelle Andrews has the details.
Preparations are being made for the hosting of the Ministry of Sports, D's Sports Shop Secondary School's netball tournament. The tournament titles were captured by Grenville Secondary School and Anglican High School in the A and B division respectively last year. Organizer of the tournament is Kathy and Gabriel.
This year we have some changes because of the financial constraint that the country is facing on a whole. And the ministry thought that it was prudent to still have the tournament instead of not having it. So we had to make some changes and in order for us to still have the netball competition. So in the years gone by, we normally had 2 zones. We had a western zone and we had an eastern zone. However, this year we are going to have 4 zones. We try to have schools in zones that are close to each other so that the transportation costs can be cut down for the ministry as well as the schools. So that is what we are really looking at, and we're looking to have a wonderful tournament.
She says, however, they expect a more competitive tournament, although they will be without the 2 schools from the sister isle of Carriacou.
This year we are fortunate to have the J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School will be participating this year for the first year. And on that note, I must say that unfortunately, we would not be able to have the 2 schools from Carriacou because of the financial constraint that we are under. But however, we are trying to organize something where they can play some games among themselves. And we are really seeking from our sponsor if they would be able to provide medals and trophies for the schools in Carriacou.
The tournament is scheduled to commence in earnest on October 11th. Moving on to football, several games have already been contested in the 2012 Republic Bank Right Start football tournament, and organizers of the activity are optimistic of a successful staging. Coordinator of the tournament, Ali Debellet, says from what he has seen, he is satisfied with the performances of the teams, especially the newcomers.
When you look at the first game, the defending champion against St. Rose, who has not been a finalist or semi-finalist for some time, and the quality of football they played, I think one would expect that the competition should be of a higher level this year. I think a lot more football is being played around the island, and so probably people are playing more, and that in itself strengthens teams. So maybe by the time the final, who knows, they might be in for a surprise as to who gets into the final.
It is heartening to witness such competitive spirit from the young players, he says.
The initial stage of the competition is very encouraging. A number of the teams, yesterday PBC defeated GBSS at the junior level. So I think we are seeing that the gap between the best playing teams and the worst playing teams are narrowing up. And as a result, one would expect very close fought competition.
The tournament is expected to be completed in November.
That's all we have for you in Sports on 6. A recap of the headlines is next.
Still struggling to stream content? Get Flow Broadband. With the most affordable rates on the fastest speeds around, you click and stream all the content you want smoother than ever.
Flow, watch, talk, click.
Recapping the headlines, it was the week in which government sold 10% of its shares in a local company to pay September salaries of public servants. Grenada's export market to the U.S. may be at risk following implementation of new regulations by American authorities, and motor vessel Sabina A cleared for sailing following fatal accident at St. George Cargo Port a month ago. And in sports, intersector netball tournament to shoot off next month. That brings us to the end of CC6 Newsnight Weekend Review for September 24th to 27th, 2012. Top stories from CC6 Newsnight can also be seen on our Facebook page, Flow Community Channel 6. On behalf of the news team and Samantha Williams, thank you for joining us.